Hi, I'm Annabella. My parents paid every cent of my brother's college and gave me nothing but a smile and silence. They said I was the strong one, the independent one. But at my graduation, when they finally heard my name, and the room stood up to applaud me, their faces went pale. Want to know what made them crack? It wasn't the applause. It was everything I survived without them. We sat at the dinner table like any other night, Dad at the head, Mom by the stove, and Joran across from me, grinning like he already knew what was coming. I had just gotten home from my shift at the diner. My hand still smelled like fryer oil, but I smiled, hopeful. Dad cleared his throat and said, "We've got something to celebrate. Our boy's headed to Western State." Mom clapped. "Full support, of course. We'll cover tuition, housing, everything. He shouldn't have to stress while getting his degree." I looked up from my plate. "What about me? I got into the same school. I start the same semester." Mom didn't even blink. "You're the responsible one, Annabella. You've always figured things out. You'll manage." No one said anything else. Joran kept eating like it didn't concern him. Dad nodded like he'd just made a practical decision, nothing personal. I stared at the meatloaf on my plate, my appetite gone. That was it. No debate, no question, no shame. After dinner, Joran pulled out his phone to text his friends. "Beach week is happening," he said with a smirk. "Guess who's going all out?" He was talking about a trip with Dad's credit card. Meanwhile, I was sitting on the couch with my laptop, typing "how to apply for federal student loans" into Google. The house smelled like lemon-scented cleaner and fried onions, but I couldn't smell anything over the slow burn of being invisible. I didn't cry. That would have felt like asking for something. Instead, I shut my laptop, walked to my room, and pulled out a legal pad. I started listing every scholarship deadline for the next month. They didn't choose him because he needed it more. They chose him because they assumed I didn't, because I never complained, never failed, never needed rescuing. But that night, I made myself a promise. If they thought I'd survive without help, then I'd do more than survive. I'd rise so far above their expectations that one day, they'd have no choice but to look up. 2 semesters passed before I made it back home. The bus ride from campus was 6 hours of stiff seats and stale air, but I had time to think. Too much, really. I carried a duffel bag, a wrapped frame I'd carved myself in the wood shop, and a pit in my stomach that I couldn't shake. When I walked through the front door, Mom barely looked up from her soap opera. "Put your stuff in the laundry room. Joran's room's still full of gifts from his fundraiser." Fundraiser? That was news. But I said nothing. I just did as told. Joran pulled up an hour later in a new fleece pullover and leather boots. Dad greeted him like royalty. "There's my man. I made your favorite, 3-bean chili with extra spice." I watched them from the hallway, still holding my coat. Not one person had asked how school was going. Not one word about the job I was working to cover tuition. It was like I was just passing through, like a guest who'd overstayed. That night, I handed Mom the frame I made, our last name engraved across the top, delicate vines twisting around the border. She held it up like it was something from a yard sale. "That's sweet, honey." No hug. No, "wow, this is beautiful." Just, "that's sweet." Then she placed it face down on the counter to reach for another beer. Christmas morning, I already knew what was coming, but I smiled anyway. We gathered around the tree. Dad handed Joran a small box with a bow. Joran opened it and whistled. "Whoa, a Tacoma key? You serious?" "College boy deserves a real truck," Dad said proudly. "Can't have you driving junk around campus." Mom handed me a flat package. Inside, a discount store thermos with a clearance tag still on it. "So you can stay warm during those late shifts at the library," she said, like that explained everything. I felt something press behind my chest, like my heart was holding its breath. They didn't even notice the silence. Later that evening, I overheard Mom on the phone with Aunt Debbie. "Joran's top 10% in his program. We're so proud of him. His professors say he's leadership material." I leaned against the wall listening. Joran had bombed his last econ midterm. I'd helped him rewrite 2 of his essays. Meanwhile, I had a near-perfect GPA, multiple certificates pinned on my dorm corkboard. She didn't mention any of it, not one syllable, but I wasn't surprised. Just done. After the holidays, I returned to campus with more than just textbooks in my bag. I carried silence. No arguments, no drama, just that numb kind of quiet you get when you finally stop expecting anything. That night in my dorm, while organizing files on my laptop, a memory blindsided me like an old bruise someone pressed too hard. I was 14. Joran and I were playing baseball outside Dad's hardware store. He always had a wild swing. One hit too high, too hard, straight through the store's front window. The crash echoed like thunder. Dad came running out, red-faced, gripping the belt loop on his jeans. I stepped forward before Joran could say a word. "It was me," I lied. "I aimed wrong." He believed me instantly. No question, no hesitation. He grounded me for a month and pulled $100 out of my summer job savings to teach me accountability. Later that night, Joran slipped me a Snickers bar and whispered, "You're just better with them than I am." Like I should be proud. Like betrayal was a compliment. Even my punishment was a gift for him. 3 years later, I was working part-time at a craft store, saving for a second-hand laptop. Nothing fancy, just enough to run word and let me apply to colleges. Then, one afternoon, Mom came into my room holding a Post-it. "Joran's iPad got stolen. Finals are next week. You'll let him borrow yours, right?" She didn't ask. She expected. I handed it over, thinking they'd buy me another soon. They never did. That winter, I typed essays at the public library, riding the bus at 7 p.m., fingers numb in those plastic chairs under flickering lights. Meanwhile, Joran got into a business leadership program. Thanks to the laptop I never got back. People like to say that sacrifice is love. It's not. Not when it's demanded. Not when it's never returned. Looking back, I spent years thinking being useful would earn affection. That being the fixer, the helper, the yes girl would one day make them turn to me and say, "You're our pride." But love shouldn't feel like labor. And I wasn't their daughter. I was their tool. By spring semester, my body moved on muscle memory. Class, shift at the library, late bus, instant noodles, repeat. But my mind, it needed something to hold on to. That's when I saw the flyer on the bulletin board near the accounting lab. The Benjamin Ford National Grant, top 5 U.S. students in finance. A full ride, paid internship, national spotlight. I tore the paper down before anyone else could grab it. Back in my dorm, I mapped out every requirement on my whiteboard. Transcripts, recommendation letters, a 500-word personal essay. I wasn't intimidated. I was alive again. Every night after closing the library, I'd head to the 24-hour study lounge. I wrote with earbuds in, blocking out noise, channeling the years of overlooked effort into something they couldn't dismiss. The essay became my confession, but not the kind that begs. No, it was the kind that stands tall. That weekend, I took the draft home with me, just to get one person's blessing. I handed it to Mom while she stirred stew. She skimmed the first paragraph, her eyes flicking side to side like she was scanning a grocery receipt. Then she put it down and said, "It's dramatic. Maybe tone it down a bit. No one wants to read sob stories." My chest tightened. "It's not a sob story. It's the truth." She shrugged, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Well, if you say so." Right then, Joran came downstairs holding a brochure. "Hey, Mom, can you help me with this application for that summer program in Barcelona? There's a personal statement thing I don't get." She lit up like a Christmas tree. "Of course, baby, let's do it now before I forget." And just like that, my laptop was pushed aside for his spell check. A week later, back at school, I overheard my TA talking to another assistant. Joran Caraway's mom emailed Klein again. Some excuse about a family emergency. Wants another retake. I froze mid-step. I'd missed a quiz last semester when I had strep throat. I never got a makeup. But she was out there fixing his failures like it was her part-time job. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't rant. I just opened my laptop in the empty study lounge, attached the final draft of my essay, and named the file Ford_essay_annabelac.pdf. No backup plan, no fairy godmother, just me. A few weeks passed in quiet limbo. I didn't expect a reply, not really. I submitted that essay like I was writing into a void, hoping, but not clinging. Then came an email. Dr. Lionel Harris. Subject line. Impressive work, Annabella. I stared at the screen like it might vanish. He'd read my essay, And apparently, one of my professors had forwarded my paper on financial forecasting from last semester, without my knowledge. Dr. Harris had already submitted my name to the Ford Committee as an early standout. "You have a sharp analytical mind," he wrote. "Let's talk about a research assistantship." For the first time in a long while, I felt seen. Not pitied, not used, just seen. I accepted immediately. That weekend, Mom called. Her voice was syrup sweet. "Hi, sweetheart. Duran's got a paper due for his marketing class. Needs a quick pair of eyes. Can you help your brother out?" I held the phone in silence for a beat, then said calmly, "No, I can't. I've got deadlines of my own now." A long pause. "Annabella, don't be difficult." "I'm not. I'm just not available anymore." She sighed, clearly annoyed. "You used to be so helpful." I let the silence answer her. The next Sunday, we had family brunch. I came home for politeness' sake. Mom served scrambled eggs, beamed about Duran's trip to Barcelona, and passed around his Instagram photos like he'd just solved world hunger. Not a word about my new job. I didn't correct her. I didn't share. That would have felt like begging for acknowledgement, and I was done performing. Back at school, I filled out the last of my internship forms and added the research assistant title to my resume. Quiet victories, no confetti, no spotlight. That night, I opened the Ford Committee's confirmation email one more time. Finalist notifications, June 3rd. I didn't want their applause anymore. I just wanted them to watch. June came in slow and sticky, like a storm holding its breath. One morning, while scrolling through job alerts at the student center, I spotted it. Bold, centered, and unmistakable. "Congratulations, Annabella. You are one of 5 recipients of the Benjamin Ford National Scholarship." My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I just stared at the screen until the words blurred into fog. Then I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding, and whispered, "I did it." I forwarded the email to Dr. Harris, who wrote back within minutes, calling me a pillar of resilience. My classmates took me out that night. We toasted with fountain soda and cheap wings. For once, I laughed like it didn't cost anything. But I didn't tell my parents, not right away. A few days later, the scholarship committee sent a formal invitation for the award ceremony. "Bring your family," it read. "This moment belongs to them, too." I stared at that sentence longer than I should have. Then I dialed home. Mom picked up. "Annabella? Hi, I got the scholarship, the big one. The Benjamin Ford?" A pause. Then, "Oh, well, that's something. They're inviting parents to the ceremony. It's on June 3rd. It would mean a lot if... We'll see. It's a Friday, right? Might be tricky." "Okay, just think about it." She changed the subject to Aunt Laura's garden within 30 seconds. I hung up and looked at the framed copy of my unofficial transcript on the wall. Summa cum laude. It deserved to be more than decor. That weekend, I went home for dinner. Duran was going on about his failed dropshipping idea like it was a Fortune 500 pitch. Dad patted his back. "That's the entrepreneurial spirit, son." I mentioned I'd been asked to speak at the scholarship ceremony. Mom didn't miss a beat. "That's nice. But don't say anything that sounds like we didn't help you, all right?" I set my fork down. "I didn't say that." "Well, just be careful how you come across." "I've spent my whole life being careful. I'm not editing my story for your comfort." Duran went quiet. Dad kept chewing. And me? I finally stopped folding myself to fit their silence. That night, I drove back to campus with the windows cracked and the radio off. The air smelled like dust and June grass, and I let the silence press against me like armor. I wasn't mad. I wasn't even hurt. I was done. The ceremony was a week away. Ford Foundation had already confirmed my speech slot. They'd sent a press kit, a reserved seat chart, and a list of expected guests. Investors, alumni, faculty heads. It was the kind of crowd Duran and my parents would normally kill to be seen in. But I wasn't sure they'd come. Or worse, what they'd say if they did. The answer came sooner than expected. That Tuesday, I got a text from Talia, a girl from my old high school. "Your mom's been telling people you're getting this award because you have the gift of gab. She said one of your professors has a soft spot for you." I blinked at the screen. A soft spot? An hour later, I ran into a friend from the finance club in the hallway. "Hey, congrats," he said. Joran was telling people you're probably winning because you have connections, not just grades. Said someone up top likes you. My hands clenched around my notebook. My jaw tensed so tight I heard my molars click. It wasn't just silence anymore. It was sabotage. That night, I called home. Dad picked up. Hey, kiddo. Dad, are you and Mom telling people I got this scholarship because of favoritism? Long pause. Then, well, your mother just doesn't want folks thinking we didn't support you. She's rewriting reality to protect her ego. I earned this. Every inch. I know that, he mumbled, but it's complicated. No, it's not. It's cowardice dressed up as diplomacy. He didn't argue. I hung up. The next morning, I walked straight to the campus communications office and handed them my revised speaker's bio. I added every internship, every research hour, every job title I'd worked while Joran partied his way across Europe. I didn't want them to clap out of pity. I wanted them to understand exactly what I'd survived to stand at that podium. I woke up before the alarm, already dressed in my mind. The thrifted navy dress I'd steamed the night before hung on the closet door like it was guarding something sacred. I pulled my hair back into a clean bun. No makeup except for lip balm. I didn't need a new face today. I needed the one that had survived. There was no text from Mom, no voicemail, just silence. Joran posted a filtered selfie from the backyard that morning, holding a mug like it was an Oscar. Caption, boring family thing. Let's get it over with. I rolled my eyes and walked out the door. At the auditorium, the buzz was electric. Camera crews setting up, rows of names taped to velvet seats. I found mine in the front row, 2 seats reserved beside it. Dr. Harris spotted me near the stage stairs. He smiled. They came. I turned. Middle row, 5 seats in, there they were. Mom in her church dress, Dad in his too big blazer. Joran slouched between them like a kid forced to attend Sunday school. They didn't wave, I didn't nod, but the space between us had never been clearer. When they called my name, the auditorium dimmed and the spotlight found me. My heels tapped against the wood floor. Calm, sure. Annabella Caraway, the host announced. A self-funded scholar, 2 jobs, perfect record, recommended not by favor, but by merit. Applause thundered. Joran blinked like someone had switched channels mid-show. My mother just stared, lips parted, as if she didn't recognize the woman they were clapping for. I stepped up to the mic and let the silence hold. Not every student gets handed support. Some of us learn to grow in the dark. Some of us earn our light. Pause. Let it breathe. To those who never stopped believing in us, thank you. And to those who never did, we made it anyway. The room stood, except her. I walked off stage as the clapping built behind me. Dr. Harris leaned close and whispered, "They saw you now." In the reception hall, executives and recruiters circled. Joran approached, hands in his pockets. "Hey, that was something?" I nodded. "Thanks." Then turned to shake hands with a hiring manager from New York. I didn't look back. Not even once. That same night, while others gathered in hotel rooms or downtown bars to celebrate, I packed 1 duffel, 2 boxes, and the envelope with my job offer. No confetti, just paper and resolve. 2 weeks later, I stepped off a Greyhound in Queens with a Metro card and directions to my sublet. The building smelled like curry and old steam heat. The room was tiny, the window stuck halfway open, but it was mine. Nobody's hand had carved this path. I'd bled every inch into the sidewalk myself. Work was relentless. My first week at the firm, I got lost twice, cried once in a bathroom stall, and stayed late every day. But when my supervisor handed me a case file and said, "I trust your instincts," something inside me clicked into place. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was becoming. A week into the job, my phone lit up with a message from Mom. "Hope New York is treating you okay. Dad says congrats." No apology, no warmth, just words. I replied, "Thanks. Hope you're both well." Nothing more. The next day, Joran emailed me with his resume attached. "Any advice for interviewing? Heard you're good at this stuff." I skimmed it. Sloppy, inflated, full of jargon he didn't understand. I sent back 3 lines. Cut the buzzwords, know the company, be honest about what you don't know, no smiley faces, no call to catch up. They weren't villains. They were just incapable. and I was done being collateral in someone else's emotional confusion. The only message I responded to with tears came from Grandma Marla. "I watched the video online," she said over the phone. "I stood up when you walked across that stage. Baby, you were a star." I laughed. "You're the only one who clapped from the beginning." "I clapped because I saw you, sweetheart. They just never looked close enough." After the call, I stared at my laptop wallpaper. Me on stage, smile fierce, back straight. A woman no one gave permission to succeed. That night, I wrote in my journal, "I didn't win to make them regret. I won to remind myself I never needed their blessing to bloom." And that's what healing looks like. Not a reunion, not revenge, just freedom. I stopped waiting for them to clap. I started living like I didn't need the noise. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with this. Not as the girl who once sat alone in a cold guest room while her brother got a new truck, but as the woman who walked her own stage, in her own shoes, without waiting for permission. If there's anything my story taught me, it's this. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need to believe in yourself loud enough to drown them out. Family can disappoint you. Love might not always look the way it should, but self-worth, that's yours to define. No one can give it to you, and no one can take it away. Maybe you're watching this and you felt invisible too. Maybe your success made others uncomfortable. Or maybe you're still in the middle of your own battle, trying to prove your worth in a world that's too busy clapping for someone else. Wherever you are in your journey, let this be your sign. You are not broken. You are becoming. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Has your family ever made you feel overlooked? Or did you have someone, like Grandma Marla, who always saw you, even when no one else did? Tell me in the comments. Drop a 1 if this story touched your heart. Let me know where you're watching from. Or hey, if this story didn't hit home for you, I want to know why. What are your experiences? And if you found even a spark of strength in this story, please subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next one. We've got more real voices, more brave stories, and maybe the next one will be yours. You made it to the end. That means something. Thanks for listening.